Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer with the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. And today we have a Meet the Ambassador edition. So welcome to the show, Keshia.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited that you're here. You're our newest ambassador.
Yes.
And we are excited to have you, and you have jumped right in. Tell us a little bit about you so we can get to know you.
Well, I'm Keshia Cannon. I've been in Rockingham County for all my life. And I have pretty much just came from the background of property management. So I kind of transitioned over to community relations. So they've given me this opportunity, and I've just been enjoying it.
So tell us about that. What is this opportunity? Because you work in a pretty cool place.
Yeah. So I'm the community relations director of the Landings of Rockingham. Been there for 3 years. We offer assisted living as well as independent living.
So we were able to be a part of the ribbon cutting, and it, for the longest time, people were, oh my gosh, what is that? What's happening? What are they building? And so it was kind of fun to be able to tell people what was happening, but it's just such a beautiful building and facility. Tell us about how you guys are different. What makes you stand apart?
Well, one thing about us, and I really do appreciate that, is that's pretty much a part of our mission. Our mission statement is to make sure that we provide affordability, as well as the care and the services that we offer. But the affordability piece is just what I pretty much appreciate, because when you are in senior living, it can be very expensive. So ours is all inclusive. So a lot of people really do appreciate that.
And you guys are full, right?
Yes, we are pretty much full. So right now my focus is mainly on the independent living. I think a lot of people are afraid and don't realize that within the actual senior living community, it's not about like being in a nursing home or whatever the case may be. It's about living that carefree lifestyle and doing what you please, doing what you want, and go golfing or go shopping or whatever the case may be. So I just want people to come out, allow me to give them a tour so they can actually see that this is beautiful. I can come and go as I please. You have your 3 meals a day. You have light housekeeping. We do everything for you. So I just want them to understand that they can still live the life that they want to.
Let's take a little bit of a dive into that in general within the entire city of Reidsville. North Carolina is a very popular state for people who are active living, like seniors who are 55 plus. They're not necessarily needing assisted living, or they're not really needing care. Like you were saying, they can live that carefree lifestyle. They can come and go as they please. But, Reidsville as a city is a certified retirement community. And Reidsville has tried for years to look at that from the perspective of, people say an aging population is a bad thing, but it's really not, because that group of people, especially the ones who are coming here from other places, they're selling their homes, very high level dollar sales in northern parts of the country that are very different style of living. And they're coming here and they have this expendable income that they can put back into the community. They can put back into, like you said, shopping, golfing, whatever it is they want to do. And so one of the things, that the city of Reidsville did was they built this multi-million-dollar facility with the R-Care where they can come play pickleball, so we're trying to get people to understand there's kind of like a process, right? Like you can start actively living, and then as you start thinking about maybe downsizing your home, not having that housekeeping like you were saying, they can make that transition to a place like the Landings.
Absolutely. And you bring on a good point. So a lot of times, when I'm giving a tour and I present that price to them and they say, whoa, I said, don't say that, just do a cost analysis, compare what you're spending at home versus what's included here. And then from there, they're like, oh, okay, I think I would be, able to afford it. So like
when you think about the groceries, when you think about getting rid of your home and you're not paying the taxes on the property.
Or the insurance.
Or if something happens.
That's right.
And they're having that upkeep of, this appliance went out, or, the roof needs replacing, or so like all of that factors into that.
It does. So therefore they can worry less and enjoy life more, So it's to me, it's more stress free. Because if you got everything all inclusive, you don't have to worry about the maintenance part of it. It's maintenance free. So you don't, once again, come and go as you please.
Right. Curious minds want to know, for somebody who maybe is my age and has never experienced elderly parents or a family, or doesn't know what to expect, tell us a little bit about what that looks like. Tell us about your chef. Tell us about the meals, what that looks like. Tell us what a unit looks like, how that can really change somebody's perspective of what you're actually providing.
So, and I get that. I get those phone calls every day. Hey, can you tell me more about your facility? I'm new to this. I've never had this happen to me before, so I don't know what questions to ask. So by the time I'm finished with that conversation, they say, oh my goodness, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure speaking to you. You've kind of calmed my nerves. So I always just kind of paint the picture and tell everybody what our assisted living services are, go over the pricing, present them with a tour. And like you said, just kind of paint that canvas for them and just let them know that within our semi-private rooms, everybody thinks of the nursing facility. They think of a curtain. We don't have that. We have a nice wall there, so you can have that nice partition, that nice privacy. In all the semi-private rooms, the furniture is included. So the only thing that you're going to typically share is going to be your kitchenette area and your bathroom area. But of course, you still have your own privacy. We even have doors. So you don't have to worry about, just not having any type of privacy. So I just try to just let them know that everything is going to be okay. Everything is just going to work out. I'll go over the actual payer sources as well. So to know that we also kind of stand out from those within the actual county is the fact that we accept the special assistance Medicaid. Everybody doesn't accept that. So for those that have that lower income, you just apply at your local DSS. As long as you're financially eligible, then from there, and that's how we actually just start the process of getting those that have the lower income into our facility.
That is very cool. So tell me, like, what if you had a person who they don't have a lot of family, but they have a best friend, and I want to be near my friend. What if we both want to get units? Like, how would that work? Or I guess they could do the semi-private or whatever, but how does that work?
So typically, of course, that we have had that to happen before, whether if it was a husband and wife. So of course, regardless if they are, like you said, one may be private pay, the other one may need special assistance Medicaid. So of course, if they're friends, that's good, because we kind of want like-minded people within the same room. And also, say on the independent living, we also try to mend them together as well. So.
How do you find roommates? Like, how does
that work? I try to just keep in mind that, okay, how can I pair if somebody's kind of hard of hearing?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to put them in a room with somebody else that's going to easily get annoyed. So I try to match personalities. I try to match different, put the same characteristics together, so that way we won't have any problems. Right, there you go.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what does a typical day look like at the landings?
We have pretty much fairly good days. I love my residents. They keep me laughing. They keep me with smiles. So pretty much a day full of activities. Of course, they eat good. We have our 3 meals a day. We incorporate their snacks. The actual cook, Miss Mel, everybody loves her cooking. So everything is cooked within. It's not frozen. It's, fresh food made every day. So, of course, they love her cooking there. And they enjoy the activities. I try to always incorporate different types of events for them, try to keep them engaged. Also, outside the community and inside the community. So just try to keep them with smiles on their faces.
How does that work as far as the food goes? Is there a meal plan for the week?
It is.
How do they know what's coming?
Right. So we actually keep a nice little meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we have that meal plan for them, so that way they can just come up and see exactly what they are eating for that particular meal. If they don't actually want that meal, then of course they can have an alternative, whether it be a soup, salad, sandwich, things of that nature.
Okay. Awesome. So what kind of activities are you doing with them?
Well, the activities that I like to do, I like to bring in the entertainment for them. We had Elvis not too long ago, and they loved that. They really, really, really loved that. So, and then of course I had brought in a magician. So just got some other stuff coming in. They like to see the Carolina girls. And then we also have some local entertainment like Del Maxi and the band. So me and the activities director, we kind of coordinate on different activities.
So do you do any field trips or any day trips where they go out and see anything? Or?
Well, we did a fishing trip. So our new administrator, Lazaro Cruz, he presented a nice little field trip at the Reidsville City Lake there, and they really enjoyed that. A lot of times we also try to take them to local restaurants, whether it be Mayflower, Elizabeth's Pizza, Firsties, whatever the case may be.
I was going to say, yeah, what would that look like? And of course, I'm sure Mayflower is at the top of the list. It's at the top of my list. So I think that, what if, or do you do any educational seminars?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Tell us about how that works.
So, like the educational seminars that I typically do, you may be familiar with Miss Debbie McCauley. She comes from Via Health, and pretty much the independent living. They love Miss Debbie. She's full of knowledge. She goes over, with her being a gerontologist, she's able to, talk to them, whether if it's about dementia or, just any senior related topics. They are always enthused to hear what she has to say. Whether it's, I also had, I can't remember the actual name of the facility now, but anyway, Dr. Rubin, he's a wound specialist. So they enjoyed speaking with him. So that way he can talk to them about any different, how to care for your wounds, how to care for any, situation that may occur when it comes to the elderly population. We also started with Second Harvest Food Bank. We did a Cooking Matters. We did our first series yesterday, so that's going to continue for the next 4 weeks. So they really like that because she's often, making sure that you have those little healthy tips when it comes to you doing any type of grocery shopping. And then she's going to also provide some cooking demos.
Well, that sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. Used to do that in my former life. So what about for people who are, you say you get questions and phone calls every day. Mm-hmm. What about like educational seminars for people who might be interested in coming to the facility or their family coming to the facility? Mm-hmm. Do you all offer anything like that?
Well, when they're coming in, as far as touring, I try to educate them on, what pretty much our services are, our amenities, things of that nature. I educate them on where to actually get started, especially when it comes to, like I was speaking before, like if they are inquiring about Medicaid or whether they're inquiring about Medicare or just whatever that kind of, is on their mind at that time. I try to educate them at that point. We don't actually have like a educational seminar, but I try to educate them on just senior living myself.
I think that it's almost, we are reaching this point, where we talk about the sandwich generation and we talk about how difficult, like, people our age, not only caring for our family at home and our kids and the things in our immediate household, but then also having to care for our parents as they're starting to age. And so, like, I'm full of the questions. I mean, we could make the show all about Diane's family, because my parents and my in-laws and everybody, they're all retiring. Like, they're all getting ready. They're at that age, where they're asking all those questions and figuring out, okay, well, when can I start drawing my benefits? When am I eligible for this? When am I eligible for that? And so, for me personally, I'm still learning a lot. I'm thankful to have multiple people across multiple agencies in the chamber where I have continued to gather info. And Health Team Advantage is one that we've had them on the show, and Shelby was great.
She is great.
Explained so many things. I'm just thinking how cool it might be. Maybe we should have like a little senior living expo. They used to do those, but I haven't heard anybody do anything like that in a while. And I think maybe at one point the city or our care, Parks and Rec, I think maybe organized them. So I'd love to inquire about that, because I think there's probably a lot of people. I don't see it getting any better right now. Like the way that the generations are aged, I feel like there's a lot of us who we're not that far from it ourselves, right? Like we're trying to plan and do whatever, but we're still living as I call it, we're living our best lives, like as taxi drivers and all the things. And, or some of us are coming out of that and or have been out of that for a while. And so now it's like, when is my career, when am I going to decide that I'm done and then I'm moving on? But what do you do from there? And I think people just like literally don't know, because you hear the extremes of people retiring and within 6 months something's happened to them.
Yep.
Or you hear about people who they work forever. My father-in-law has a gentleman who is, I think they said he was turning 85 next week, who's still working. I mean, and working like a job where he's, and I'm like, I don't want to be 85 and working like that. But I also feel like I need to understand, like, what are the options, what's out there? Because, we get phone calls here a lot about people looking for resources because, especially women, because they outlive men.
They do.
You have a little, situation with a family where the lady maybe doesn't have anybody and she's widowed. She's living at home by herself on a fixed income, very limited resources, and trying to take care of a house, just like what we were saying. And the roof needs to be repaired and the siding needs to be repaired, and she can't afford to do it. And mom wants to stay in her home, and the kids are like, we don't know what to do.
Right.
And so I just think that it is a struggle, and I know there's a new fancy name. It's like a geriatric care manager. Is that what it's called? There's like a new role that seems to be developing from all of these things and people trying to learn about it. So how do people learn about like what the options are and what's out there? I mean, is there, I know we have resources like Health Team Advantage or individual facilities that people can call, but
well, a lot of times, Dr. Google, I always, that's one of the questions that I ask, when somebody calls me, I always say, how did you hear about us? So, whether if it's DSS or whether it's Google search or whether it's a sister property or whether it's just word of mouth, or I seen it being built. I've been watching you guys for a while, that sort of stuff. So it may be a drive-by. So it's different ways that people will, pretty much, come to see us. So
do you ever people just wander in and say, I just wanted to know what it looked like on the inside?
I have.
What is this?
Yep. I've had one lady come in. She said, I just wanted to tour. She said, because I heard you guys were $10,000. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Glad you came in.
Let me educate you.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
And that's what she said. She was like, oh my goodness. She said, this is beautiful. She said, thank you so much for taking the time to accommodate me. She said, on short notice. She said, I know you wasn't expecting me. And just to enlighten her. So that way, whoever that gave her that false information, she can go back and say, you were wrong. So that's just different ways that people come to know us.
Yeah. Well, one of the really cool things about Landings is from the word go, you guys have gotten involved in the community, got involved in the chamber.
Yeah.
And, recently you were like, how do I become an ambassador? And we were like, let us tell you about it. And we were really excited. But tell me about why it's important for you all and why you personally and why for the Landings it's important to be a part of the community and to be seen.
Well, to me, I mean, like you said, you have this beautiful building. This is something that is a great opportunity for here, not just in Reidsville, but for Rockingham County, period. So when I'm out marketing, that's just what I do. I try to market throughout Rockingham County because everybody deserves to know that we're here. You have another opportunity for housing, and it is affordable, because you got a lot of, like you said, you got a lot of women, you got a lot of men that want to enjoy being retired or tired of taking care of their home, so I always try to go out and, do my service of marketing within the community to let everybody know that we're here and this is what we can offer. So that's just pretty much what I enjoy doing, whether if it's just, going to some type of different community organization or whether I'm out marketing at the hospital, whatever the case may be. I always just try to, put the landings of Rockingham on the map. I really do. That's why I'm always just trying to, who's doing a networking event? Can I get in? Who's doing, some type of health fair? Can I get in? That way I can continue to put the landings of Rockingham on the map.
Yep, I think so. I think you're doing a great job with that. And I think that in general, I'd love to see, I'm sure, gosh, you guys have been there now.
3 years in November the 9th, 2022. That's when we opened. So that's when we're coming up on 3 years. That would be our 3-year anniversary.
That is crazy.
It is really crazy.
Well, I'm excited to see what it looks like in, 2 more years at the 5-year mark.
Absolutely.
And even down the road at the 10-year mark. I think it's going to be phenomenal. It's such a beautiful facility.
It is. It is very, very beautiful. We get compliments every single day. So we strive on continue to keep it beautified.
Right. Well, so, honestly, that's a hard job.
Yeah.
Once you've built this great, functional, beautiful facility,
right.
How do you keep it that way?
Yeah. So, of course, we have our housekeepers to pretty much acknowledge and to thank for continuing to keep our building looking good on the inside. We have the ALG senior that pretty much provides our landscaping. So as a team, we always try to jump in, whether if it's cleaning, taking trash out, whatever the case may be. As a team, we always collectively try to just continue to keep our beautiful landings of Rockingham looking good.
And how many sister facilities are there?
Oh my goodness. Within the Triad area, I know there's probably at least 140 plus, but of course within the Triad area, right down the street, we have Gifford House. That's like in the Brown Summit, Greensboro area. And then in Burlington, there's Alamance House. And then 30 minutes down the street in Yanceyville, there's Caswell House.
So how would you know, what's the indicator of sister facilities? What's the parent company or?
ALG Senior.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So those are all the county or the area and the house. Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of them like Wellington Oaks. That's a memory care facility in Greensboro.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how he came up with the house or the landings, because we do have a few landings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are other landings.
Yep. We have a newer, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful facility. They also offer assisted living as well as independent living called the Viridian. It's in New Bern. Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's gorgeous.
It is. Hadn't been there, but of course I do want to eventually go out there, but I've seen the pictures.
The pictures, yeah. Well, New Bern's such a great area.
It is.
Mm-hmm. So if that's your jam, I could see that being a great place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, we are excited to have you. We're excited to have you as an ambassador and to be on the show. And you guys have been involved since day one. Yes. So is there anything you want to cover or talk about that you feel like we haven't told the audience specifically about?
No, I just want to just thank you for, allowing me to be an ambassador. Thank you for contacting me so I can actually do news and views. So I was honored to be able to be a part of the chamber. So I really do thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. People always come in here so nervous and they're like, what are we going to talk about?
Oh, yes, that's me. That was me. Yes, yes, yes. Nervous as all get out.
And it's funny because I don't think, I think it's, oh gosh, I don't know if this is I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I know that we are getting ready to be on our 100th episode. And so we are building up to that. And I'm pretty excited. I got to figure out exactly what that looks like. Mm-hmm. But I think we may brainstorm some publicity and just kind of trying to figure out how but I don't think people realize that it's we have our own TV show, we have our own TV channel, we have a YouTube channel with a playlist, and this is a legit podcast. So, we just, I don't know, it's exciting. And I think it's great to hear from people and to have folks from all over. Some of our folks come on and they're like, yeah, been here my whole life. I'm from Eden, so
me too.
And so so I'm like, people are like, I've been here my whole life, and I've traveled, and I've gone to school other places, or but I've lived here. And for me, I commuted to school, so I've literally, my address has always been Rockingham County. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And but then I have others who come and they're like, they're from other states or other countries, or they came here for work, and or they've lived in other countries, and So we just, we just like to have a good time and learn about people, learn about the jobs, learn about the facilities and the great things. And I think for me, the senior living, we just have Grandparents' Day.
Yes, we did.
And I do not any longer have my grandparents, any of them.
Yeah.
And it was I lost both of my moms in a 6-month period during COVID. And so I think to see living through that with my kids, like the schools, they always celebrate Grandparents' Day, and the grandparents come and eat lunch. And
right.
It's a big deal. And so I only have one left in elementary. And he was like, Mom, who's coming?
Aww.
Who's coming to eat lunch with me? And I was like, buddy, I just don't know. Everybody's got to work, and my dad's on a cruise, and my mom had to work. And so, but my father-in-law he is on the cusp of retirement, and he's like, you know what? I've got all these days. I'm going to take the day off. And so he took Wednesday off to eat with my son. He's taking today off to eat with my niece. And they're the last two in elementary school. And so, I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about, grandparents and just in general, how many of us are at a stage where we do have our grandparents, but, I have a former board member who just lost his grandmother. They had been caring for her. And I was talking to him on the phone this week, and he was like, Diane, like, we just came through the funeral and all that. And he was like, I'm already right back at it. He was like, hey, I'm coming to the expo, but I got to take Mom to the doctor. And I'm right into caring for her and being the driver for her. And he's the male because his dad's gone. And so like for his sister and himself, and they've been caring for Grandma. And like, I guess Mom had been starting to go in that direction.
Yeah.
So
hats off to him for even stepping up.
I know. And it just, and it was like all of these things were happening, and Grandparents' Day, and then you were coming on the show. And so it's really been like in the forefront of my mind. And I just, I really urge people to think about, we don't want to think about it. And I'm one of the world's worst. We're in this hustle and bustle, and the time is flying by.
It is.
But you've got to think about and plan and figure out what the future looks like. So
you really, truly do. And that's why I always encourage people to start, speak to your attorney about a power of attorney. That's one thing me and my father talked about, getting that taken care of. And I do appreciate, I'm an only child. So that's something that I talk to my parents about all the time, because I don't want to be, when you having to deal with a loved one passing away, that's a very emotional moment. So just to have to worry about planning a funeral, planning this, and
we are 4.5 years out from, and my mom's still dealing with all the stuff. And, it's a lot. And I actually sat my dad down. My parents are divorced, and I sat my dad down
mine too.
The beginning of this year, and I said, okay, we're going to talk about this, because like, you live alone. And I don't know where any of your stuff's at. I used to.
You sound like me.
But it's been several years, and a lot of things have changed. And I'm like, where are you hiding this? What are you doing with this?
Yeah.
Where are those papers? Do we have these papers?
Yeah.
What do we have? And so, and there's a lot of resources, again, managers, there's attorneys, there are people who can sit down and walk you through this stuff. Your investors, like your Edward Jones folks, can walk you through different things. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just thinking it's time, we're really getting into these educational pieces and these breakout sessions and things. So maybe it's time for us to consider some sort of senior living, or, some sort of expo, or some sort of bringing everybody together. So
it is. I've even had Triad cremation and funeral services.
Yes.
I had them to come out, and we did a bingo night.
Yeah.
With our independent living group, and then that way they can go over their services, you know what I mean, and talk about, because they have a very good package, cremation package. A lot of people going for the crematory services. So I think they have a $8.99 package, and then from there you can go ahead and do your package. And have everything, whether you want the color, your casket, your dress, all that kind of stuff. You can go ahead and pick all that out, because what if your son has to bury you and he may put you in a whatever color dress that you don't want to be buried in? You get to choose that right now. Right. And then, of course, they also talk about, your different power of attorney services and all that kind of stuff. So that stuff is important. I know my dad contacted me one day and was like, hey, what are your plans? I'm like, do we have to talk about this right now? But he was being proactive, and he had already planned his funeral. He already picked it out. He's already paid for it. So I was happy to hear that,
Well, and a lot of people don't understand. I learned this recently when I got my dad I was like, hey, and I still need to do it, but I had called a funeral home and I said, okay, tell me how this works. And I did not realize, and a lot of people probably don't, that if you contact a funeral home and you set everything up, like, it's like a state mandated thing. Like, you don't, like, when it comes time, if for whatever reason that funeral home is not in service, or you need to pick a different one for whatever reason, like, you can switch all that stuff. Right. Like, people don't realize that it's not
they don't.
For the specific funeral home. Right. It's more of it's something that you buy into, and then it's, they have to file it with the state and that. So I was like, I did not realize all that. So anyways, it's just funny, like, us talking about it.
Yeah.
You know how I am. I have these big ideas. So I was like, what kind of event could we, or what kind of thing can we pull together? So, well, it's been phenomenal having you on, and it has really made me.
We're gonna have to get together and do this Senior Living Expo. I had like a small one at the facility, for the public as well as independent living. But to make it big, I think that's a need.
Yeah,
because it seems like everybody needs to know and prepare.
I think so too. All right. Well, we're out of time, so thank you so much for being on, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Miss Diane.
Yes, ma'am. All right, folks, that is it for today's show. So, as always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, and on all of our social media channels, and on the web at reidsvillechamber.org. Thanks. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon.